Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union and the ACRU Action Fund, welcoming you back to another episode of Live Free TV, where we talk about some of the issues that maybe you aren't hearing on your mainstream media or even on social media, but they affect your constitutional rights, freedoms, and liberties. And first and foremost, I just want to think about this. We all have heard recently how the Iranian president and foreign minister, they lost their lives in a helicopter crash in the mountains in the northern Iran, close to the Azerbaijan border. But let me ask you something. Do you really think that it is cool for the United States of America, for our ambassador there at the UN Security Council, which I'm starting to really question why we're a member of the United Nations right now, but the United Nations Security Council stood up for a moment of silence for the man that we know as the butcher of Tehran, the man that is responsible for countless amounts, tens of thousands of lives being lost, little girls who, weren't wearing their hijab properly or refused to wear hijab, hung in the streets. The person that's behind all of this terrorism and things that are going on, not just against Israel, but all across America. And remember, back a time ago, Iran was behind the Hezbollah attack that killed 234 of our Marines, sailors, and soldiers. So why is it that we are taking part in a moment of silence for this individual? Why is it? Why don't you just have a moment of silence for Adolf Hitler? Why are we we're expressing our condolences? The State Department expressed condolences for the loss of the Iranian president. I was in Iraq and I remember the explosive force penetrators, the EFP IEDs, improvised explosive devices. Those things came from Iran. They were devastating on our soldiers. Many of our soldiers lost their lives, lost limbs, because of the EFPs that came from Iran. You look at what is happening right now, how Iran is out there providing, drones to the Russians against Ukraine, how Iran is providing their oil and gas resources, energy resources to China, our number one geopolitical foe. And yet we're offering condolences. Something's not right about this current administration where they want to offer condolences to a butcher. But yet they treat their own citizens here in the United States of America with these pre-dawn raids of grandma's house and things of this nature. Something's not right. And that leads me to the topic for this episode of Live Free TV. And I just want Joe to roll this clip of Barack Obama from some time ago.
Many of the millennials, dreamers, undocumented citizens, and I call them citizens because they contribute to this country, are fearful of voting. So if I vote, will immigration know where I live? Will they come for my family and deport us?
Not true.
Okay.
And the reason is, first of all, when you vote, you are a citizen yourself, and there is not a situation where the voting rolls somehow are transferred over and people start investigating, etc. The sanctity of the vote is strictly confidential.
First of all, the young lady in this clip, I don't know what an undocumented citizen is. That's like calling a drug dealer an unlicensed pharmacist. And I have real problems with these people that all of a sudden believe that you come across the border of the United States of America illegally. You violate our rule of law, our Constitution. You violate our national sovereignty. And we're just supposed to roll over and say, okay, you're here. We have individuals that have come here to the United States of America by the proper processes and procedures. We have individuals that have waited in line 6, 7, 8, however many years to become a naturalized citizen. But now all of a sudden we're saying to individuals, you come here to the United States of America illegally. There's only two. You're a legal immigrant or an illegal immigrant. But now all of a sudden we're going to give you the right to be able to vote, and the cat's out the bag. This is something that now the progressive socialist left is talking about. And really what that is doing is usurping the voter. You want to talk about voter suppression. Allow illegals to vote in the United States of America. That suppressed the votes of American citizens. So in other words, America is not a constitutional republic. America is not a sovereign nation. America is just a piece of ground in between Mexico to the south, Canada to the north, Pacific Ocean to the west, and the Atlantic Ocean to the east. And if you can get to America, then you're a citizen.
Amen, brother.
I mean, Joe, are you kidding me? I mean, how did we get to this point where we are debating what it means to be a citizen? And you just heard Barack Obama say that, and this young lady talking about you're an undocumented citizen. Where did this verbiage come from?
I don't know. And I just heard Obama say that voting makes you a citizen.
Yeah.
At the end of that, at the end of his sentence, voting makes you one. These
Yeah.
are a little turned around here, Colonel.
Yeah, because, my wife was a naturalized citizen. She was born in Jamaica. And I think about the things that individuals that had to become naturalized citizens, what they had to go through. I mean, they had to study the Constitution. They had to study all of our founding documents, and they end up making better citizens than some of the citizens that are naturally born here in the United States of America. But to all of a sudden say that voting makes you a citizen, that's a very dangerous road to be going down. And look, what the left is trying to say in the United States of America is, hey, we already are allowing illegals to vote in some municipal level elections. And those are always in blue municipalities, in blue states primarily. You hear that coming out of California. You hear Governor Hochul of New York talking about allowing illegals to vote. I mean, it's gotten so insane that our good friend Mayor Adams up there in New York City said, why don't we just allow them to be, lifeguards? No, I don't want them out there around my kids, around the pool. I mean, we don't know the backgrounds of these individuals, but yet we should allow them to go vote. Single military age males from China should be voting in our election. I mean, Joe, can we get an even greater stuck on stupid award than what we see happening right now?
Getting pretty tight, Colonel. Getting real tight.
Yeah. It's amazing. And so this is the party that talks about threats to democracy. This is the party that talks about voter suppression. But yet what they are seeking to do is the pure definition of a threat to our representative democracy is voter suppression. Because now all of a sudden, Allen West goes out to vote here in the state of Texas, and there's a bunch of illegals here in the state of Texas. And oh, by the way, some have been flown right directly into Texas by Joe Biden, his quote unquote unconstitutional parole program. And next thing you know, they're supposed to go to the ballot box. No. Oh, and I guess, well, they participate in our economy. So they're still not citizens. They still do not have the rights and privileges thereof. Our Constitution was meant for citizens of the United States of America, or those people that are here by way of coming through the front door that we have legally allowed. But the other thing, Joe, and everyone in the audience has to understand is that the left has fought to include illegal immigrants in the census count. Now, understand what that will do to our representative democracy. When all of a sudden you have brought in, I don't know, over the past 3.5 years of the Biden administration, 8, 9, 10, we know that there's 1.5 to 2 million, the quote unquote gotaways. We don't know who they are, where they are, but now they're supposed to be counted in the census. And the census is used to, every 10 years, as per the Constitution, to redesignate our congressional districts, our representation. So now all of a sudden, we are going to count people that are here illegally, people that violated our laws. We're going to let them vote. We're going to count them, which will skew our representative democracy. Tell me, is that not a threat to the United States of America, to our sovereignty? And oh, by the way, recently Dick Durbin went down to the floor of the United States Senate. Now, I want you to understand this. This is a U.S. Senator, Dick Durbin, who stood there and said that, well, we're having problems making up our shortfalls for recruiting and retention in our military. We should just allow illegals to join our military. Now, Joe, let me repeat the words that I quoted, the oath that I took.
Yeah.
I, Alan Bernard West, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all our enemies, foreign and domestic, bear true faith allegiance to the same. So we are going to allow people into our military that the very fact that they are existing in our country, they violate the Constitution. They violated our rule of law. And now we're supposed to believe single military age males from 150, 160 different countries are going to support and defend our Constitution?
No.
You know, who wants to go to bed at night thinking, oh, some illegal immigrant from China is going to protect me? And we just recently saw, I mean, I don't know if you folks paid attention to it, but we had 2 Jordanian nationals that were caught trying to enter Marine Corps Base Quantico in a truck, saying that they were there to deliver mail. That reminds me of what happened in Beirut on October the 23rd of 1983, when a truck just drove right through the barricades and went in and detonated there at their barracks.
Yeah. Yes.
And this is how we have set ourselves up. This is what Joe Biden has brought to the doorsteps here in the United States of America by allowing these individuals to come in here illegally. Yeah, okay, they tell us, well, we got this terrorist, we got that terrorist, but how many have come into this country? And oh, by the way, those 2 Jordanians who were terrorists, you listen to Barack Obama, you listen to that young lady, they should be able to vote. People that are here trying to kill us. Let's listen to a good and dear friend of mine, Catherine Engelbrecht, with True the Vote.
We hear debates in Congress where the congressman will say, "You can't. Don't worry, non-citizens can't vote. It's a crime of perjury. It's a felony." So okay, we took a deep look at the criminal code, and Title 18 left us just gobsmacked, because when you read all the way through it, as it lists all of the stipulations against non-citizen voting in federal elections and lays out the penalties therefore, scroll all the way down to the fine print, and what you read is that non-citizens can vote without penalty if at the time they are voting they believe themselves to be U.S. citizens.
Oh, so I can go out and I can identify as a U.S. citizen. You know, I really feel like an American. I had some apple pie last night. I watched the baseball game, but I came here, through your back door, but I really feel like I'm an American. So I want to vote. You got to be kidding me. But that's exactly what we're having. That's exactly what is going on in the fine print. You can identify, you're a biological male, you can identify as a female, and you get to go into the young ladies' locker room. But now we're talking about people identifying as an American, being able to vote. Let me tell you something. Let me try to go to Saudi Arabia and say, I identify as a Saudi Arabian. I want to vote. Well, they don't really vote. They kind of just, bad example. But let's say I go to France. Let's say I go to Germany. Hey, man, I don't speak a lick of French. No parlez-vous français. But, I had a croissant at La Madeleine, and I just feel so French. I want to vote in your election. I'm
no voting
sure.
for you today, Colonel.
No voting for you today, Pierre. No.
No.
Or I show up in England, I try to have a fake Cockney accent, mate. I really feel British. I've been watching the English Premier League of soccer.
Done cut it, dude.
Done cut it.
Don't cut it.
But we have so devalued what it means to be an American, what it means to be a citizen in the United States of America, that we just say we're just a piece of property in between a couple of oceans and a couple of other countries who, I guarantee you, if you went to Canada, you're not going to say, hey, man, I identify as a Canadian. I'd like to vote. No, not happening. Or, yo quiero Taco Bell. Whatever happened to that little chihuahua anyhow? But you go down to Mexico and, yo quiero Taco Bell. I feel Mexican. I want to vote. Cinco de Mayo. I went to a Cinco de Mayo party. No, not happening. This is how absurd it's getting. I mean, I'm making jokes. But folks, this is how absurd it's getting. Voting is a privilege for an American citizen. It's not a right to anybody that just shows up. Let's listen to Tucker Carlson's take on this.
There is no way to justify on economic grounds mass immigration in 2024. So once again, why is it happening? And it's happening for political reasons. It's happening because the Democratic Party has ceased making the case for itself to Americans. And so in order to keep power, in fact, to expand their power and to preside over the one-party state that they desire, they're going to need a brand new electorate. And this is their electorate. Foreigners will choose your leaders. You're not allowed to choose the leaders of foreign countries, but foreigners will choose your leaders, including in this election, this 2024 presidential election.
You know, there's a lot of people that talk about this thing called replacement theory. I would just want you to understand that the real replacement theory that is going on in the United States of America is replacing the American voter, replacing the American citizen with people that are just coming here to get more largesse. That's what they're being promised. Homeless veterans. But yet we're giving debit cards to people that have come here illegally. We're giving free healthcare benefits to people that have come here illegally. And now we're talking about giving them the privilege, the honor, the right of an American citizen to vote in our elections. So when you turn to these young men and young women who still today raise their right hand to say that they will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, they will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. They take that obligation freely without any purpose of evasion or mental reservation, so help me God. What do you think it does to them when they are willing to lay down their life for that oath? But they see people that are allowing that very document that they have sworn to support and defend to be trashed. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are to continue on to live free in the United States of America, then we've got to restore what it means to be an American citizen, not a subject, which is what some people want. And they will import illegally all of the people that they want. And Tucker Carlson got it right. Because when you trace this all the way from Panama through the Darien Gap, all the way up here, this is a global endeavor to undermine the greatest nation that the world has ever known, a complete dismissal and disavowing of the Constitution of the United States of America, to replace American citizens with just any old body, who will then decide, as Tucker Carlson said, what our leadership should be. The American Constitutional Rights Union does not believe in illegal immigrants voting in our elections, nor do we accept illegal immigrants being counted in our citizens and in our census. That's reserved to the true citizens, not people identifying with our real citizens who were born here naturally or were naturalized as citizens. Everybody else, well, they're tourists. And even tourists have to have some documentation to come in. You don't just come across our border legally. Remember, we want to live free, but it's a republic if you can keep it. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Live Free TV, and we'll see you next time.